Welcome to All Basket Games, where we talk about games that we played. And
in
yeah,
2021.
right now we're going through games that we played during the 2021. And next up in the games, we have What's Inside the Owl Basket. Please bring it up.
It looks like a PlayStation 3 game, doesn't it?
Yes.
You look at the top. Woohoo! What can you see?
So this is Brütal Legend. It's well, I guess you can call it brutal. I can't actually even say it
Brutal.
like brutal. Brutal.
Brütal Legend.
Yes.
Some language or some form of English says the Brütal. It's like D. I've heard it somewhere.
Okay. So yeah.
Yeah.
So this game, I think I remember the shop where I bought this from, but I have no idea why I bought it. But obviously it's a PlayStation 3 game, so it's been, I'm pretty sure, over 10 years since I bought it. And at some point during all this time, just before we started playing this game, I was completely sure that this would be a point and click game. And I have no idea why. But well, I guess it's done by the studio Double Fine, which is a studio by Tim Schafer. But it's like the couple of games that we played from Double Fine before this were remakes from Grim Fandango, which is a point and click game.
Yeah, and
And-
Tim Schafer himself has a very legacy, or he worked at the LucasArts
Yeah.
game studio.
Yeah, Lucas Arts, yes.
And probably some other team members are also from there, from from back then.
Yeah.
So there's legacy of the
And
point and click games.
they made another remake. What was it? The Full Throttle.
Yeah.
So those are like Grim Fandango and Full Throttle are both point and click games. So and I mean, if you look at the cover, I guess you could ask like, how could you ever mistake this for a point and click game just looking at the cover? But the same could be said for Full Throttle and Grim Fandango. They do not look like point and click games. So it was quite a surprise when we started playing this game and we found out that it's actually like an open world hack and slash game where you drive around in your car and listen to like heavy metal music playing and, you know, whack enemies with your like guitar axe thingy. And then like there's a couple of sections when the game turns into this like a real-time strategy game where it has the same controls. You can still like run around and whack things with your guitar axe, but at the same time you get like controls to like summon like what did they call them, like these groupies, I think. Yeah,
Or fans. Yeah.
I think they were groupies or something. Well,
They had a lot of band and music.
terminology.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can like summon allies in that sort of sense and sort of give them commands to go there and capture that point and attack those enemies and so on.
Yeah, they're the units in an RTS game.
Yeah.
It's the unit you choose from different types of units. Some shoot from further away, and some are melee attackers.
And some actually like I thought it was kind of interesting, although it's not apparent at start, but there's one unit that like drives around in a motorcycle and it's the healing unit. And I like looking at the unit, you'd think that, you know, maybe they're shooting at enemies with a, I don't know, a Gatling gun or another weapon like that, but it's actually like playing like a healing metal song or something like in more like that sense. So there's also healing units.
Yeah, this game was truly full of surprises for us because we knew nothing about the game, and I can say for myself that I saw this game a lot in the bargain bins and thought it was a very poor game because there were so many of them in the bargain bin. And you had it, and we were thinking about the next game we wanted to play, and somehow this popped up.
Yeah. Once again, I can't remember the reason. But yeah, it was a very positive surprise because, well, I think the game is very good. Probably like, maybe not in a neutral sense. I mean, if you just look at the game and well, okay, we don't really care that much about metal or rock or that sort of things, but like if you just look at the game from, let's say, a game developer's standpoint, you could probably say that it feels kind of unfinished and it may feel empty and so on, but for us it was like a really good game, and Double Fine is really good at, I think, making worlds. Like the same with Psychonauts and Massive Chalice.
Yeah, and they're very talented at making games look very timeless.
Yes.
It doesn't matter what console they make the games in, you can play these 20 years later and then see that they look phenomenal for the graphics they had back then.
Yeah. So it doesn't look, the game doesn't look bad. I mean, obviously, if you don't like the old graphical style where all the textures are stretched and so on, then of course it does look sort of old. But aside from that, I think it looked really good and the animations were really nice. And overall, I mean, there was a bit of like input lag, I think. Like when you press a direction, it takes like half a second or what feels like a half a second before the character moves. So that was a bit jarring. But aside from that, I thought the controls were really nice. The game itself is like a chock full of course, like metal and rock references. They even got like a real, like
okay,
yeah.
I want to make a story because or tell a story how we realized the thing you were starting to talk about, because we knew nothing about this game and we started playing. Okay, it already set itself up as a tribute to heavy metal. You are a roadie. You are a roadie guy in the back of the stage and listening to these newfangled musicians play their very modern, I don't know what genre it's supposed to be, but they obviously were mocking the current music styles. And it was very fun, and it was pretty early on very apparent that this is gonna involve a lot of heavy metal references. Then the game starts, we start playing, or you play it and I watch you play it, and we get to the world, and at one point we find this, is it the skull entrance to the upgrade place, and you drive to the inside the upgrade place, and then you drive into the it's literally hell. It's full of lava and there's some titan in the distance,
like a giant statue of a titan.
Yeah. And then the character who upgrades your gear appears, and we look at him, and that looks like Ozzy Osbourne.
Yeah. And
the glasses and all, the hairstyle and everything. We're not well versed with any of, but Ozzy Osbourne is someone we totally recognize.
Yeah.
And that's the start of us realizing that, holy hell, there's actual musicians gonna be in this game.
And it wasn't, he didn't just look like Ozzy Osbourne, he really sounded like Ozzy Osbourne. It's like, oh, this voice actor is doing a really good job. No way, that's actually Ozzy Osbourne.
Yeah, he was voicing himself in the game about heavy metal, and then the story goes on and we meet some other familiar faces. Lemmy is one I recognize because, well, he passed away some years ago, and I thought he was in Finland. Motorhead had this concert in here, and our local or the national milk producer company, Valio, they approached Lemmy and asked if he wanted to make a milk commercial. And he agreed. And that's why I know Lemmy and his attire so well. And he appeared in the game, it was very obvious it was him. At the very moment.
I don't actually remember what other characters they were, but
there's the singer from the Judas Priest. I don't remember his name, and the woman, her band is, I don't remember anymore, but
I'm probably gonna look it up and put a text somewhere around here. But it was like, okay, in a sense you could say that the game sort of even though I said it's a really good game, and for me, like all the best games, if you look at the games that I hold in like the highest esteem, like the Ultima series, any game from the Ultima series, and games like Breath of the Wild, you can say from every one of them that they have their flaws and their like mistakes and everything. And the same with this game, in that it felt like a bit short maybe, or it sort of came to end a little bit abruptly, I would say. But regardless of that, and of course there's a lot of, because it's an open world hack and slash, there's a lot of like sort of small quests you can go do in the world, and some of them really start to repeat themselves. But aside from that, I thought that just the story and the legends that you see there, and just it's a very, like, for me it was a very sort of unique game in that I've never really seen a game like this where it's an open world hack and slash, but at the same time sometimes you get these real-time strategy sections.
And they all work pretty well, because many games that try to mix genres together, they fail at least one of the genres they're trying to mix. But this one really did a good job in all of them. Except for the fact that it's a game from, I see it's 2009, from a time period when, well, this was a small studio. This Double Fine was a small studio, and they didn't have the resources, so there are, as you said, some flaws in it. It seems a little bit unfinished, etc. But still, they managed to pull it together. It has the soul, it has the gameplay is good enough to enjoy it from beginning to end. And some people might think it's gonna get very tedious, because it's like the old open world games where you are in the area and you can explore the area, then you at some story point go to a next area and open up that area, and there's the same kinds of challenges for you to complete at these areas. I don't were the 4 or 5, and they vary.
About so, yeah.
And you unlock these areas, and each area has the same missions to do, and that's where the repeatedness comes from. You kind of discover new places. The new places are very neat. They are very distinct, and you really see or are intrigued by the enemies and the creatures that lurk in these different areas.
Yeah, and I remember at some point we were like driving around and I see an enemy and I'm like, oh, that kind of looks like, you know, like death, like the spectre, or how do you say it? Like the Grim Reaper. Yes, the Grim Reaper. And I sort of think that, okay, like I've been doing well against all enemies at this point, and I just sort of start to shoot at him with my car, and he just comes and slashes me dead with one strike or something like that happened. And like there's, I think, like interesting, like that kind of details adds like interesting like memories, and like to think that there's this one area where this Reaper enemies going around. I don't think it was even a unique enemy. There's more of them wandering around. They just have a really sort of high attack power, so they can take you down really easily.
Yeah.
But and also I think the quests, although we said that they're repeating themselves, of course, if you're not a completionist, then you don't really have to care about
yeah, that's
them.
true.
It's just if you want to gather everything. And I think we almost did. The problem is that there was something that you could sort of gather in the world, and there were like hundreds of them. And I think we missed one, but we almost got them all. So, and the bad part is that it doesn't really show which ones you've gotten, so we couldn't really like compare it to any sort of map online. But we went more or less through every one of them and got almost all of them. And even though like we didn't get everything, but just going around and looking for those things really made you appreciate the world more, because you could, like, this is one of the things that I really like when game developers do, in that you sort of take advantage of the elevations. In that, let's say you're standing on top of something, and then there's like stairs or some path going down, and you walk a long way, and then you end up in a sort of completely different place. And looking at it from the map, from like the top, you're almost at the same location as before, but you went a long way because the elevation is so different. So I think they really use that well in this game, and it really helps like bring small places to alive that you can find just by, you know, going down places and finding like small little spots to go through and so on.
And the story itself, it's kind of a very average, very typical story when it comes to this person from real world goes to another dimension and becomes the hero of that dimension. Not hero, but becomes the very integral part to solve the war or the problem that's plaguing this fantasy world.
Yeah.
And then it was pretty nice story also, but I've seen those before. And
I think like once again, I think the like humor really holds it up. It was a really enjoyable story, and sure there's like a bunch of drama in there as well, but still I thought it was a really humorous story. And I guess I don't really remember if they used the term chosen one, but it was sort of like a chosen one story.
But it was very clever chosen one story, because the main character, he's played by Jack Black, by the way. Jack Black is the reason why these celebrity artists came to make this game. But let's talk about it later.
Yeah.
But the main character is a roadie. You'd think that when you make a game about music, then you'd take the lead singer and make him the hero.
Yeah.
But he's the roadie who actually is a very important person when you think about setting up the stage for a concert, and that actually plays a very big role in the world he goes into, where he needs to be the strategic mind, or the guy who gets things done and tells everyone else what to do, and everyone else have the skills to kill or make the item they need or something like that.
So if I understood correctly, like mostly like my understanding from what roadies do actually comes from this game. So if I understood, or if this game did a good job explaining it, is that, you know, roadies are the ones who indeed set up the stage and build all the scaffoldings and the parts that, you know, hold the stage together, all the metal pipes and those stuff. So yeah, that's what the main character is, and he really utilizes that to his advantage.
Yeah, and he doesn't actually rise above everyone else. He's very humble guy. He just says he's a roadie, and the people who are more hero material are the actual heroes, the main or the secondary character and his sister, and then there's the second girl. And the three of them are actually kind of the competent ones in other areas. But this Eddie Riggs is the main protagonist of this game. He comes and brings everyone together to fight against this menace that is making the world.
I don't actually remember what the like menace was. Something was like they were enslaving these guys or something.
Yeah.
So you sort of like stumble upon what is it, like a resistance party in a sense. What was the term? Like Star Wars uses it as well. Not resistance.
Rogue Squadron.
Like you have the Empire, and then you
Resistance
have the...
is a good name.
I guess it's a good name. Okay, so you stumble upon this like a resistance group, and you find out that most of them have been enslaved, and I guess were they like mind controlled or some? I don't remember the exact details.
It's almost a year already when we played this game, so it's fun to come back to it and see how much we remember of it. It is quite a lot for a game that we played some time ago, and it really speaks to the game's merit that it really had very iconic characters and memorable moments and places, even though the details might get blurry.
Yeah, I remember, I think I remember all of the characters.
Not necessarily their names, but what their role was in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah.
And the main menace, he was played by this Tim Curry. He was this sadomasochistic guy who enjoys pain and was very hellish. He had very hellish minions.
Oh, right. And I mean, we didn't try it, but there's like an online play mode as well, which basically you could say that the single player, whenever you get into the real-time strategy parts, it's actually sort of a tutorial for the multiplayer, which is played online. And in that you have like I think 3 different factions. You have the main resistance force, which has like your usual like sort of rock band.
Yeah, they're
people.
They're themed around the stage,
or
the band, rock band and stage aesthetic.
Yeah, and then there's another group which is like these like gothic. Like a gothic group, it has like reapers and wraiths and there's one other word I'm looking for. I can't remember what it is. Like these squeakish women and stuff like that. Well, really like gothic and emo culture and stuff like that. And the third group is indeed like a sadomasochistic group with imps and like dominatrix and all sort of like leather wielding.
Abominations.
Yeah,
I would
abominations.
Say. Yeah. It would have been fun if you could, in the main game, you could experience playing these two other factions. You only play against them, and the only way to experience them would be the online part of the game, but it's very dead right now.
Probably,
We said we didn't try it, but we went and looked at it, and there was no one waiting to start a game with us, but we didn't even have the chance to try it out.
I mean, you said it was from 2009, so it's 13 years old game, so I'm not surprised.
No.
But and I mean, I think this game released on multiple platforms, so it would also require that specifically, I guess, PlayStation 3 players would be there. Not quite sure.
Yeah.
Overall, we really liked it. And one other thing I actually forgot to mention before, we mentioned that you drive around in a car, and if I remember correctly, I don't think this game had like fast travel. Either it didn't or we never used it. Yeah, because I remember like when you opened new areas, you could like destroy some part of rock or something opened, and you could basically like that was like a sort of a quicker way to get back into older areas.
Yeah.
So that was at least one part of it, but I just, for the most part, I just remember trying around everywhere. And just in the case that there isn't any fast travel spots, I guess. Like for me, that was I've written a whole article about this, that I really don't enjoy fast travel options myself. I like that when the game, like, you know, it gives me an option to move faster, but other than that, like, I don't like being able to teleport to places.
Yeah.
And back.
It diminishes the sense of adventure, and you appreciate the world less because you just teleport around instead of driving through fields and forests and lakes and everything that the world has to offer in visual.
And I think a big part, like, we really said that we liked like the world and how it looks, but also a big part of what makes us appreciate that is really, like, you know, looking through all the nooks and crannies and really searching for stuffs, and, you know, not using fast travel, but, you know, driving around and running around.
Yeah, the world was full of, I'd say, or we gathered that most of them, the big monuments or some big monuments that are in the rocks, or this is a world based on metal. There are metal pipes poking around, and the trees are metallic and they have the leaves sticking out, and everything is metal or rock or something. And there are a lot of these points of interest.
Like
small
monuments and stuff.
And we gathered there mostly that they must be album covers. We just don't recognize them. We don't believe this music culture. We are not we like music, and rock music is pretty good. Especially because of this game, we got to hear a lot of real world music that it was very awesome to ride around and listen to some good tracks from various artists who were kind enough to give their music to this game. Of course, they probably got some money from it, but it's pretty small studio, so there might have been a lot of just goodwill from the musicians.
Yeah. So to elaborate that, there's like actual real life, well, real life, but there's like actual really good rock songs in this game, and I don't actually remember like any of the names, but I probably pull a list up here at this point so that you can have a look and like really understand like rock songs from actual rock bands that exist in real life, and like really good songs, and you can listen to them while you drive around in your car. So that was really great.
So that brings us to the part I was almost talking about, how Jack Black brought the musicians to make this game. Because this game, it comes with some kind of behind the scenes or making of video, how this game came to be. And originally it seemed like Tim Schafer was just wanting to make a game based on rock music, and he approached Jack Black for the main role, I guess. And it turned out that Jack Black himself, well, he already knew he has a band too, but he also knew a lot of fellow musicians, including this Ozzy Osbourne, or I don't know who he knew personally, but he's the guy who knew some people and he had connections, and he talked about this project to them, and they became very interested in it. And probably the people, Lemmy and the Ozzy Osbourne and the two other people, I don't remember unfortunately their names, but they at least they became so intrigued of this game that they wanted to be in it themselves. They offered their voice and look for this game, as I remember it from the documentary they have in this game. And it was a very, very nice story. And one thing that this game brought to my attention was how laid back and neat guys these old rock band musicians are. I've always known they are pretty, because the heavy metal scene in Finland is pretty big, and they are very laid back people. And it's somehow pretty magical if you think about these industries, two different industries. They might be a pretty cynical, both of them, the music industry and the gaming industry, but the people who are making these pieces of art in music and in games, they can come together and find this togetherness in this game project. It's something so it's a miracle, I would say. Too.
The game itself is a miracle. I think, like, even though we said it feels kind of like unfinished, but the fact that just it exists is really great.
We've been gushing about this game a lot. It's been lying around in the shelf, and we thought it was a bargain bin loser. That's not gonna entertain us. It's gonna be average, and then it's been very rare to feel this kind of emotion when you take a game out of a dusty bin and then think, oh, this game, I'm very bored, let's play this, and then your mind gets blown. It really blows up, and you just think you found a real gem. Without no one ever spoiled this game to us, and it's very rare nowadays to come across a game like that.
Sorry about spoiling for you though. So
we can put a spoiler starter card in the video if we want to warn people. But I really think people should know more about this game, because I've never heard of it. Aside from see it in the bargain bins. And I'm very surprised even angry video game nerd who is, we know he's very big fan of heavy metal or metal bands, and Ozzy Osbourne especially. And he hasn't talked about this game at all.
Yeah.
It really would suit his, not necessarily the every angry video game nerd side, but some kind of video where he talks as himself.
Yeah.
He should
James Rolfe side.
Yeah, he really should check this game out.
And I guess like we've hyped it up a lot. So I guess if you go into trying the game out, of course, like don't hold your expectations too high. As we said, it is by a sort of smallish studio, and it does feel a bit rushed and a bit quick and a bit repetitive. But aside from that, we think, and yeah, the controls were a bit janky, as I said, there's input lag. But aside from that, it was just a really neat surprise for us. And
it was a good time.
Yeah, and it's like one of those games this is an article that I haven't yet written, but like for me, the best games of all times are usually like the sort of game that, you know, even when you stop playing, you take them with you. Like there's something in the world, something in the story, in the characters, in the gameplay that you keep thinking about when you go to sleep or do other things. And this was one of those games. Really,
Definitely.
We both continued playing the game even after we stopped playing the game.
Yeah, and talking about it, and even during the game, I looked up. I googled different band names and the song names, and it turned gears in my head. I wanted to know more about this heavy metal scene because of this game, and that's very nice. I really love learning new things, and this game really did it to me, and you as well.
Yeah.
I always read aloud the articles and things I found out.
Yeah.
If you have a PS3 and your bargain bin still have these games, I don't know if they have them anymore, but if you happen to pick this one up, or you have this one in your shelf, gathering dust, and have never played it, then I'd really suggest you try it out.
Yeah.
It might surprise you.
Same, and you know, because there were so many of them in the not garbage bin,
bargain bin.
bargain bin. I'd imagine that you can find this game pretty cheap in Amazon or eBay or anywhere else, so it's probably a pretty common game even today. So just pick it up and play it, and well, you can't be surprised anymore, I guess, but you can still enjoy the game and the world and the like wonderful gloomy places that Double Fine has crafted in the game.
Yeah.
Okay, that's been our Basket Game Talk. So thanks for listening, and if you have any comments, maybe you played the game, please leave comments down in the comment section. And we'll see you with the next game.
Bye bye. And maybe we get the remake. What would you think?
Yes. HD remake. Nice.